Good morning, everyone. Beautiful, powerful, inspiring words from teachers of color. The best and only way to kick off our time together today, hearing the voices of teachers. Welcome, everyone, to our Teacher of Color Showcase, Reimagining Recruitment and Retention. I am Kimberly Smith, here with my colleague and the leader of this initiative, Malron Hodge. We are excited to finally arrive at this day and thrilled, completely thrilled at the response to this event. We estimated 300 people and ended up with almost 1,000 people registering for today's convening. So thank you for your interest. Thank you for coming to listen to the voices of teachers of color and organizations led by Black and Brown individuals that are doing the really good work around recruitment and retention. Malron, good morning. How excited are you for today?
I am pumped. I'm really excited to be here. And as the great Shirley Chisholm, who is my soror, once said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Well, we have worked over the last year to co-create a table created by teachers of color from my advisory council. And then we brought in more friends for the design studio attendees. So we are so excited to invite you to bring a folding table to our table to talk about the work that we've done with this Teacher of Color design studio. So we're excited to be here. And Kim, let's get it started.
All right, let's get it started. We have a lot of new friends here today. So for those of you who have not heard of Digital Promise, we are a nonprofit organization whose mission is to spur innovation to improve the opportunity to learn through technology and research. And we do this work in collaboration with districts and schools and teachers across the country. The Digital Promise League of Innovative Schools is a national network of school districts who pioneer innovative teaching, learning, and leadership practices. The League reflects every size, every shape, and every makeup of schools across the country. Welcome to the many League districts who are here with us today. We're so glad to have you. And welcome to new districts who are just hearing about Digital Promise and the League of Innovative Schools. Our 2021 application opens up in February. We invite you to apply. If you want to share your interest in receiving information when the application opens, go to bit.ly/League21. So that's bit.ly/League2021. And we are going to put this link in the discussion forum section of the conference platform. You can click on it and simply let us know your interest. We want to thank the League districts who participated in the Teacher of Color initiative. We're so grateful for Hampton Township, Huntley School District 158, Lexington County School District 1, Middletown City Schools, Avonworth School District, and Princeton City Schools. We are also grateful for our collaboration with the National Charter Collaborative and the support of charter schools, including Legends Academy and Knapford Community School. I want to thank you all for being part of this work and inviting your teachers into this process. And thanks to all of you who are here with us today. We have many, many attendees from school districts across the country. Over 80% of our registrants represent school districts, from superintendents to principals to equity officers to folks that manage recruitment and talent at both the district and building level. So thank you for being here. We have higher education leaders, school board members, non and for-profit leaders. So we're grateful that you all are here with us today. And an incredible amount of thanks to our host partners who have joined us in this endeavor: the Council of Chief State School Officers, the Center for Black Educator Development, the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association, and Unidos US. And let's hear from two of our host partners. First up, Felisa Ortiz Licon from Unidos US. Hello, Felisa.
Hello, and thank you for having me. On behalf of Unidos US, we would like to thank Digital Promise for extending the invitation to be here today as we reimagine recruitment and retention of teachers of color. I have invested 20 years of my professional experience in the field of education in serving in many capacities and multiple levels. But the one connection that really brings me to this topic is my experience as a former first grade teacher and the wife of a current Latino male teacher who has been serving the downtown Long Beach community here in California for the past 23 years. We know that 25% of students across the country are Latino, but only 9% of teachers are Latino. And we think that it is imperative to strengthen not only the teacher pipeline of Latinos, but of competent leaders of color who are teaching in our classrooms. We know from research that there is a benefit to diversifying the teacher workforce. We see higher test scores, higher attendance, higher college going rates, when teachers that are diverse work with our students. We believe in diversifying the teacher pipeline, and it's a worthy cause, but we also need to change the ecosystem, because once we recruit our teachers, we need to be able to support them, to mentor them, and coach them in systems that are inclusive, responsive, and equitable. So today, Unidos US stands with Digital Promise and other partners at this convening as we collectively think and collectively act to achieve that goal. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much. All right, next up, we have David Tanberg from the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association. Welcome, David.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute privilege to be included as a partner on this important convening and this critically important work. The State Higher Education Executive Officers Association is a membership association of the chief higher ed officers in every state. Just like there's a Secretary of Education in each state, there's the chief higher education officer who works to advance the public interest and the public good through higher education. We see that attaining those two goals is very much dependent on us recruiting and retaining more teachers of color, and that higher education has a critical role to play in improving, strengthening the pipeline of teachers of color. This is quite personal to me. My first job after I graduated with a secondary education social studies degree from Adams State College was working in a migrant education program in rural Colorado. That experience forever changed my life and made me realize the extent to which a quality education opportunity for every student, no matter their color, where they come from, their income, how critical that is within our country and the attainment of the American dream. Research, as Felicia said, is quite clear that having more teachers of color is critical to students both attaining not only a secondary degree, but accessing and being successful in post-secondary education. So SHEO is excited to be here and committed to this work. Thank you.
Great, thank you, David. We really appreciate your support, and we'll hear more from you later in our breakout session, so thank you both. We have a lot of appreciation for the Walton Family Foundation, who has supported this work that we've been engaged in for the past year. And so just wanted to extend our thanks to the Walton Family Foundation for their support. And last, but definitely not least, we want to thank you to our Digital Promise family, our team who has worked nonstop to make this event happen. And now let's hear from our communications lead, Mi Nguyen, who will share with you how to get engaged.
Good morning, everyone. We're so excited to have you join us. We hope you've taken some time to explore the platform already, but if you haven't, we just have a few tips so that you can make the most of your experience today and get engaged and stay engaged with us. So first, you can visit the discussion forum, which is on that left-hand sidebar, to share your reflections and make connections with fellow participants. So those posts will be public to everyone. So if you have a question that you think might be helpful to other folks, feel free to post it there. We'll also be sharing some important links in that area as well. You can also use Ask a Panelist to pose questions to convening presenters in real time. There's also an option to upvote a question. So if someone asks a question and it's important to you too, feel free to upvote it and we'll make sure that it gets asked from our speakers today. You can also use the chat section to actually create a private, direct, or group message. So if you have other team members on and you want to talk, feel free to use it for that. Or if you see someone you know, feel free to send them a message and say, hey. You can also use Q&A for any troubleshooting assistance or any questions related to the platform or convening. So if you're having any trouble, feel free to click that ask button on the bottom in red and we'll help you out. Finally, we also want to make sure that you connect with us on social media. So we are live tweeting today from Digital Promise. So feel free to follow us there. Also be sure to use the hashtag TOC Showcase to tweet along with the convening. We have a live social feed in the platform, so your post will also appear there. And really looking forward to having a great convening today. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Miwen. All righty, so let's dive in. So why the focus on teachers of color? If you're here, you know the story and the history of this country. After Brown versus the Board of Education, the teacher of color workforce was absolutely decimated through a series of intentional racist tactics. Today, only 18% of teachers are of color, with a rising student population of color. Even more stunning, only 2% of teachers are African American males. Why does it matter? Well, it matters because we know the impact that even one teacher of color can have on one student of color. And it matters because we know that all students, every single student, regardless of race, benefits from a diverse teacher workforce. As David and Felisa shared, we know the research as well. There are many factors that impede teacher of color recruitment and retention, from racist and biased systems and practices, student loan debt, discriminatory credentialing processes and hiring practices, pigeonholing, the invisible tax, and more. And if you want to read more about the background on teacher of color recruitment and retention, we have a lit review that you can find on the convening website. At Digital Promise, we focus on big challenges in education. And teacher of color recruitment and retention is a significant equity issue for urban, suburban, and rural districts. Through the work of our Center for Inclusive Innovation, we collaborate with the individuals that are most impacted by inequity. Our inclusive innovation model intentionally invites those with the actual lived experience to lead, participate in, and benefit from education innovation. To tackle the challenge of recruitment and retention, we went right to teachers of color to generate ideas, because the answer lies with these teachers. Our role as Digital Promise is to support a model where district leaders, policymakers, higher education leaders, and state leaders co-design recruitment and retention solutions with teachers of color, not for. And I want to say that again, design recruitment and retention solutions with teachers of color, not for. And that's how this work will move forward after today's convening. Maleron will now introduce the design studio process and a set of design concepts that were developed by teachers of color across the country.
Thank you, Kim. So this is the Rockstar Teacher of Color Advisory Council that I've had the pleasure and honor of working with over the last year. They are representing league districts. They're representing school districts that are not yet a part of the league. We also have charter schools represented and a private school as well. So you'll see their faces in a couple of minutes as they present out the design studio concepts. So this is the process that we use during the design studio. We began with understanding the user. So we not only talked about teachers as it relates to recruitment and retention, but also what does it look like to recruit students? What is the focus for policymakers? Because we know policy needs to be a part of that as well. And also administration. From the user statements that we created, we then created ideas to meet those needs, really get into the root cause. We then shared ideas with one another and pushed on those ideas and stretched them to think beyond how you traditionally think about addressing these needs. They created concepts, and today you will have a chance to see those design concepts that came out of the design studio that were created by teachers of color. And then we'll have next steps to discuss how we continue this work to make sure that it does not stop here, but it continues on.
All righty, that's me. Thank you, Malaron. Our agenda for today is focused simply on showcasing ideas from teachers of color and showcasing the work of organizations led by Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We're following this welcome session with a set of lightning talks. Then we will hear the ideas that have been created by teachers of color across the country, and we will wrap our public session with BIPOC-led organizations sharing about their work. So let's kick it off with lightning talks, where we will hear 3 perspectives on teacher of color recruitment and retention. First, we welcome Michael Warren. Michael is an active and vocal member of our Teacher of Color Advisory Council, and I have so appreciated Michael's energy throughout this process. He's a principal at Pittsburgh King in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's an accomplished musician, and I didn't know this. He's an anthem singer for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and most recently performed with Hamilton star Leslie Odoms. Michael's talk is entitled Intentionally Investing in You Now to Efficiently Sow into Others Later. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I bring you greetings from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I serve as, again, the assistant principal at Pittsburgh King. I want to talk a little bit about the idea of being your best you now, so that way you can better serve your students going forward. So currently I'm a doctoral student at Duquesne University. I once received the Campus Superstar Award for the best college singer. I serve as the anthem singer for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I've performed with Leslie Odom Jr. I sung for the NCAA tournament, volleyball and basketball. But how did I get to this point? Well, it started with this idea of knowing that, Michael, you can and you will. But it took a lot of self-reflecting, a lot of accountability, and understanding that I had to do some stuff for me first, being intentional about how I invested in me. So I was a college dropout twice. I had a lot of medical issues. Kidneys were failing, cancer on my lung, gained almost 100 plus pounds. I was nearly 300 pounds. And in the middle of teaching an 8th grade music class, thought I was having a heart attack and was rushed out of school. Why is this important? What does this mean? Let me tell you. Let's move forward. So this idea of being in 11 foster homes was enough to drain me, enough to make me feel like I can't accomplish anything. I remember being told, you're a mistake. I remember being in high school, graduating with a 2.7 GPA. I remember all the health issues I've battled, but one thing I did was I blamed everybody for what was going on. I blamed my mother for her situation, choosing drugs over her children. I blamed my adopted mother for not seeing us as good enough. I blamed this idea of the school system for failing me. But what I had to realize is, what role do you play? And why I say this is, as educators, we want to always invest in people that we serve. We as principals invest in our teachers. We as teachers invest in our students. But when are we going to take time to stop and invest in ourselves first so that later on we can have more to give? And if we go to the next slide, I use this analogy that we don't let our cell phone batteries die. Before they start to lose their true energy, we go ahead and we plug it into a source. Yet for whatever reason, when it comes to our care, our self-investment, we tend to drain ourselves, and then sometimes we never even plug into that source that's going to recharge us. I like this idea because we have to start treating ourselves, knowing our value, knowing our worth, knowing that if I'm dead physically, mentally, emotionally, then I literally have nothing to give to them. Why this is important is where I was in my past. As draining as it was, I knew if I did not take time to address these issues, there was no way I was going to be effective or impactful as I wanted to be for the students and teachers in which I served. If we go to the next slide, I talk about this idea of what it took for me to get to this place of self-care, scheduling workout routines. I lost over 120 pounds in 1 year. The idea that counseling is our friend. It is okay to talk to people. It is okay to talk to your staff. It is okay to talk, understanding that we deal with things in this world that we can't control. Hashtag George Floyd. As crazy as that was, we have no control over it. But I knew that if I'm going to be impactful in the classroom, I needed to talk to someone, because why are our Black people still being killed? Why are they still a threat? But I'm going to leave that alone because that's not the topic for today. understanding that talking with folks is imperative, knowing what you're willing and not willing to sacrifice. There were many things that I had to let go of, but there are many things that I knew wasn't a non-negotiable. I'm not giving up this pursuit for a doctorate because the statistics say that Black men, are not in the classrooms. It also suggests that foster students don't graduate high school, don't pursue degrees. But let me tell you something. I'm working on the doctorate in education with educational leadership and social justice. Why is that important? Because I knew that nothing was going to stop me from pursuing that which I believe I was called to do. But I can't get to that point if I'm not willing to assess where I am in life, if I'm not willing to assess that there are things I can't control and I have to let those things go. Understanding that balance is key, and I have to know when to let work go and when to just focus on Michael. And it's okay sometimes to say, no, sorry, I can't help you right now, because if I give you anything more, I'll literally have nothing else for me. Knowing how to let some of those things go. The idea is a healthy you, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, leads to a healthier student. It leads to a healthier spouse. It leads to a healthier coworker. It leads to a healthier community in general. This is why it's important to establish boundaries, make yourself a priority now so that we can really make others a priority going forward. My last slide before I take my seat, understanding that there are many things we cannot control. But you can control how you feel. You can control how you respond to certain things, and you can control how you act according to certain things. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to make sure that you are sleeping when you need to sleep. It's okay that you are setting boundaries in the classroom, in your communities, knowing when we see another unarmed Black man being killed. It's okay to say the boundaries say, I got to shut off social media right now because I can't handle it. Why is it important to make you a priority? Because if you make you a priority now, when these things that we can't control happen to the students whom which we love, because we've made it a point to factor in we are a priority to us, we now know what it takes to make them a priority to us. We now know what it takes to make them a priority to themselves. And that's how we start to have an impact in the classroom. I know there's not a lot of Black people in the classroom, especially Black men. I can't control that. What I can control is being available to the Black boys and girls in the classrooms when I am in the classroom so that I have a better impact. But it doesn't happen unless and until I invest in me. Again, focusing on you, seeking the best version of you to be available more efficiently and effectively to the students in which we love and which we serve. Thank you. Have a great day.
Woo. Okay, thank you and good night, folks. Thank you for coming to the convening. That's a wrap. Oh my gosh, Michael, thank you for bringing the lightning, brother. I appreciate it. And thank you for your journey and your story and the inspiration kicking us off this morning. We are so grateful and so grateful that you've been part of this work. And we'll hear from you again in a few minutes. So thanks, Michael. Next, we welcome Annie Holmes. Annie is Chief Equity Officer for the Council for Chief State School Officers, where she leads the council's internal and external efforts to yield equitable outcomes for youth and to inform state policy and practice. Prior, she led diversity and equity initiatives at multiple institutions of higher education. Annie's talk is entitled The Role of States in Teacher Recruitment and Retention. Good morning, Annie.
Good morning, Kimberly. It's great to be with you all this morning. I'm so excited to share with you all the role of states in teacher recruitment and retention, because oftentimes we think that this is only a district and school level conversation, but this is most definitely a state level conversation. And so I think it's important to ground us in my own story as well, as we lead to what does it mean for states to be involved in the recruitment and retention of teachers of color? So can you imagine me, a first-gen Black girl from Newark, New Jersey, with educators in my family? You know, I had an uncle who was a principal. I had an aunt who was a math teacher and taught multiple generations of families within her classroom, and then was able to go on and lead in a curricular way in Newark, New Jersey. But stepping onto Temple University's campus in Philadelphia as a business major and realizing that my passion was truly learning. It was truly about the students. It was about my own experience and the experiences of my cousins and my little sister in learning environments, having experienced racism from teachers at such an early age, and to have to be able to communicate and articulate that. I won't share how long ago that was, but it was several decades ago that I experienced that. And so I decided to take that on as my charge and my passion for my career. And so when I decided to change my major from business to education at Temple University, one of the things that I loved about that Ed Prep program is the fact that you engaged throughout the system, the Philadelphia school system. And if you know anything about Philadelphia, you know how diverse the communities are. And so being able to teach and practice my teaching in different communities, but then also land in North Philadelphia, which was my first teaching experience, and to be able to see those kids and how they looked at me as something that they could aspire to. And so when I graduated from Temple, my undergraduate thesis was All Children Can Learn. And so as I stepped into that first classroom in North Philadelphia, I looked at my students, I looked at their home experiences, I looked at what they were bringing into the classroom, the stories that they were sharing with me, the needs that they had from me to nurture and care for them as an educator. It was very different. And it was noticeable that I was coming into a classroom where an older white teacher was retiring. And here I was coming in, a very young, excited, new teacher of color coming into that space. So I knew my role very quickly. And I think a lot of us who are educators do. We recognize what it means for us to step into those classrooms and have those faces looking to us to help guide their learning experiences and help to support them, not just academically, but their social emotional learning as well. So cut to today, where I am now leading some of this work at the state level. Guess what? I bring all of those kids with me. I bring those experiences with me. I bring my experiences as a teacher of color with me to this day, several decades later, as I'm working with state education agencies. And so I want you all to realize and recognize and hold on to the fact that as organizations are holding states accountable for their role to diversify the educator pipeline, there is work to be done. And here are some of the places and spaces where states are leaning in. They're supporting build your own programs. They're looking across their states and recognizing how they can help to support, whether it be through policy, whether it be through funding, innovation grants, and we're helping them to think creatively around how they can continue to support build your own programs at the state level. Working with the educational prep programs. And so as they look at the different higher education institutions across their state, having those close relationships with those deans of the colleges of education and making sure that the state education agency is informing the work of education prep programs so that teachers are coming out, even white teachers are coming out with an understanding of cultural relevance, understanding that white teachers also play an impact in school climate. And so as we're looking at the recruitment and retention of diverse educators, we all play a role in leveraging the school climate so that everyone can be successful. And so we know from our own experiences as educators, from talking to educators that are currently in the classroom and in school environments, that the school climate plays a huge role. And so state education agencies are also leaning in with licensure and certification conversations, providing high quality instructional materials and the culturally relevant professional development that comes alongside of that so that you can hold your students to excellence. We know that our students can learn. We know that our students value the opportunity to thrive and to shine in these equitable learning environments, but it's up to us to continue to foster and create these learning environments. Pay increases are also another place and space where states are leaning in and being held accountable, as well as the equitable distribution of resources. So as we continue these conversations, whether it be at the state level, at the district level, when we are talking about systems level change, we're talking about policy and processes. And yes, they are critical, but we must not forget that we have to humanize these processes. We have to humanize these policies. We must humanize the infrastructure of an equitable learning environment so that our children, as they are showing up, whether it be in a post-COVID society through virtual and hybrid learning, or whether they are coming back into the classroom, that they see themselves in us. When they look into our eyes, they see pride, they see excellence, they see drive, they see honor, and they see respect so that they can move toward excellence. And I am committed to bringing those little people from my first year of teaching with me. They are grown folks now with their own families. But guess what? That experience is informing what we are talking about at the state level. We know what the research says. Kimberly just walked us through what that research says. But my charge to you today is that as we look at infrastructural changes, as we look at implementing changes around anti-racist action in our educational systems, that this Black girl from Newark, New Jersey is standing on the shoulders of all of you who are laying the groundwork in these to create equitable learning environments so that we can humanize the infrastructure for the betterment of all of our children. Thank you all so much. And I look forward to engaging with you all throughout the day.
Yes, Annie, thank you. Humanize, that word's gonna stick with me all day and through the weekend. Really appreciate your words, your personal story, and also giving us a lens from the broader perspective of states and the work that states are doing, because it's all the way through, right? From states all the way to teachers. This has to be the work that we do all together. So thank you so much. So glad to have you here in your partnership. Next, we want to welcome Sharif El-Mekki. Sharif is founder and CEO of the Center for Black Educator Development. The center is focused on ensuring there will be equity in recruiting, training, hiring, and retention of quality educators that reflect the cultural backgrounds of the students. Sharif is formerly with Mastery Charter Schools, where he was recognized by President Obama and Oprah Winfrey, and recently was a volunteer member of the Biden-Harris Education Policy Committee. Sharif's talk is entitled Liberatory Education, Freedom Schools. Welcome, Sharif.
Thank you so much. It is great to see you. I want to just start off with with thanking you for inviting us, the Center for Black Educator Development, to participate in this really important Teacher of Color Showcase. Later on, participants will get to meet Shana Terrell, one of my colleagues, Director of Pipeline Programming, who will go more in depth about Freedom Schools. But I just want to kind of give the framing of this idea of what liberating education can be and why we look at Freedom Schools as such an important and crucial part of developing the teacher pipeline. And I would also say I'm so excited that, there's such a strong Pennsylvania connection here with both of my colleagues speaking, both teaching in North Philadelphia, assistant principalship in Pittsburgh, and me being located in Philadelphia as well. So we launched the Center for Black Educator Development back in 2019. And ultimately, the goal is to improve student outcomes. If we had the data that we have now with 80% of teachers being white, across Pennsylvania, 96% of the teachers being white, and Black students were performing at their highest potential, we'd be having a very different conversation. But the reality is, ever since the 1880s, where Carolyn LeCount and her fiance, Octavius Catto, were demanding educational justice, were demanding more Black principals, more Black teachers, because they knew with no uncertainty that there was a very distinct difference in the impact in student outcomes for Black children when they had Black educators leading their classrooms, leading their schools. And so ultimately, our work is around student outcomes. And so that we can improve that, we believe that a crucial lever is improving the diversity, ensuring that students can see not only windows to the wider world, but mirrors to their own capacity, their own potential, and their own cultural backgrounds. A significant problem that we've spoken about and that teachers have shared is that they're not being prepared. And so if the majority of the teachers are white and they are sharing that I am not prepared to teach urban children, but we know who they're talking about when they say urban children. I'm not prepared to teach culturally diverse students. I feel unprepared to engage students in meaningful learning. I feel unprepared to maintain high expectations. I feel unprepared to plan and deliver instruction. After 4 years and tens of thousands of dollars, and not being in any situations that prepare them to act with this sense of urgency for Black children, we also have to look at how they're being prepared. And so for us, what we believe is that a strong program to diversify and uplift this profession must also include great professional development that goes from not only in service, but starts with pre-service. And for us, pre-service can extend as early as freshman year in high school for those who are interested in educational justice, which many of our children can be if they are helped to see the connection between racial justice and educational justice. So our theory of change, the Center for Black Educated Development is built on 4 pillars. One, having pathways to teaching. And again, Freedom Schools is one of those pathways. Professional learning experiences that are deep, that are robust, that are rigorous, and that are ongoing. Culturally informed pedagogy. We understand that in many teacher colleges, Black pedagogy is not taught. And so when people say that we're not prepared to teach Black children, it's because they have not looked at the experts' practices. They've not looked at how Black teachers from the 1800s and before that on the very continent of Africa would teach and educate children. Our school systems have found ways to bar community educators out, bar the aunts and grandmothers and uncles and fathers who teach every day, not only their children, but their community's children. There's a pedagogy in our culture, and that has largely been ignored. We learn about B.F. Skinner in teacher colleges. We learn about Horace Mann, but we don't learn about what was Lucy Craft Laney doing when she was successfully educating Black children. And then policy. We want to advocate for policies that ensure educational justice outcomes that our children deserve. And so our pipeline focus starts with Freedom Schools Literacy Academy. It's a year-round program, but particularly our summer program, FSLA, as we call it for short, is where we have an intergenerational approach that's built on Freedom Schools, the national model, as well as Philadelphia Freedom Schools. Many people don't realize that SNCC, Charlie Cobb was a part of SNCC, and he wrote a letter to not only be a part of the Freedom Summer, but he thought children and their education should be part of the movement for human rights and civil rights. And so he launched a memo that said we should start at Freedom Schools to ensure that youth are being educated. What we did was created as a build on that to create a teacher pipeline where high school students and college students and professional staff and our team coach, support, mentor these next generation of teachers, while they, aspiring educators, work with first, second, and third graders to improve their literacy efforts, but also help develop their positive racial identity and work through social action projects. We have some very rigorous goals that we are holding ourselves accountable. So not only do we want to increase our youth's ideas and perspectives and interests in education, we also want to improve and increase the numbers of college students who are majoring in education or entering residencies after graduation and who are being certified to teach. Our Freedom School Literacy Academy and the rest of our programming are all aligned to ensure that we have greater teacher diversity in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and across the nation. And we welcome opportunities like this to collaborate across various organizations that have student outcomes as their focus. That's me when I first started teaching. I was not an education major. I was always interested in activism. I'm the son of 2 Black Panther Party members, and I had cousins who were also in the party. And in their community of how I was raised, activism was, an absolute must as far as, my aspirations. But what I realized after I had graduated college, when someone invited me to consider becoming a teacher, it was that connection between racial justice and educational justice. I knew about it, but I had not seen a regular school until high school, and I didn't pay it that much attention at the time. But the elementary school I went to was an independent free school. an African free school, a year-round freedom school that was wholly filled with Black educators, Black liberators that had activism and teaching as synonymous terms and actions. That young man that I taught, that I'm standing there with, Terrence Williams, today he's a teacher and he's leading his own classroom. And he also often speaks about his experience as a student at Turner Middle School in Southwest Philadelphia and how that impacted him to choose education as his form of activism. We have too many students who, as Chris Emdin says, when you invite them to consider teaching, they say, I had such a miserable experience. That's like for them to return to the scene of a crime against themselves. And they can't imagine returning to the very seats, hallways, and buildings that oppress them and their peers so much. But what we share with them is, consider being the vanguards who help change the system. Consider being the vanguards who help build new schools. Consider becoming the teacher you wish you had and knew you needed.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Sharif. I am so glad to call you friend and so happy to see your work continue to evolve. I love this concept of freedom schools, and thank you for coming into this space and sharing what's happening at your organization. And you know, every time I'm in the room with you, I got to pub your 8 Black Hands podcast.
Appreciate
so
you.
I'm gonna do that right now. If y'all haven't checked out 8 Black Hands with Sharif El-Mekki, Chris Stewart, Charles Cole, and Ray Ankrum, get to your nearest podcast dispenser and check it out. I'm so glad to have you here today and look forward to hearing from Shauna later today. Thank you, Sharif. Really appreciate it.
Grateful, appreciate your work. Thanks for your leadership and thanks for the love. We definitely love you back.
Great, thank you.